Thank you all for being patient as I get ourselves organized this evening. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, September 26th, 2022 board meeting for the Mill Creek County School District Board of Directors. Tonight, we are meeting at the Mill Creek Education Center. Even though the public is now able to attend in person, we will continue to stream the meetings live on YouTube, and all the meetings will be recorded for future viewing. We will also continue to Zoom the meetings as well as going forward to enhance participation in them. You can view this evening's agendas as well as several additional informational items on our website, www.mtsd.org. In addition, please visit us and like us on our Facebook page, Mill Creek Township School District. I'd also like to remind all speakers, 14 members and board members to speak clearly and distinctly into the microphone so you can be heard by all of our attendees this evening, whether they are here in person or viewing on Zoom or YouTube. At this time, I would like to mention that the MTSD family has lost yet another member of its family, Brianna Lynn Elder. Even though Brianna was with the district for only a short period of time, she'll leave a long-lasting impact with all those that she came in contact with. So at this time, I'd like everyone to join me in taking a moment of silence for Brianna Lynn Elder. Thank you all very much. Sid, Ms. Sitter, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Dean,
Here.
Ms. Philbeck. Here. Mr. Kobilka,
Here.
Mr. Lindner,
Here.
Ms. Lupacek,
Here.
Ms. McClintock,
Here.
Ms. Newsham,
Here.
Mr. Winchell,
Here. Here.
Mrs. Winchell,
Here.
Dr. Roberts,
Here.
and Attorney Senate.
Here.
Thank you very much. Item 1.02, executive session announcement. There was an executive session held this evening prior to the board meeting to discuss personnel and real estate. Item 1.03, approval of the agenda for this evening. I would like to make a motion to amend a couple of the items on the agenda this evening. First item, I'd like to put these forward to the board as a block as a motion. The first item is 9.02 under the superintendent's report to amend the job description. 9.03 is the ESS contract subrate amendment to amend the rate. And item 11.01 under the solicitor's report to amend the sales price for real estate. And I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion on those three items? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That being said, item 1.03, I'd like to bring the amended agenda forward for approval.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance for the evening? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Roberts, I believe we have a Bell Valley celebration with Miss Law and the Bell Valley students this evening.
Yes, exciting.
Good evening. Looks like we were half of your audience tonight. Good evening, Dr. Roberts, school board, and the core team. It's nice to be here tonight. I'm Sherry Law, for those of you who do not know me, and I am the assistant principal at Bell Valley Elementary. And I brought some members of my team tonight to talk to you about a phenomenal program that we have going on. I'm going to introduce to you Nicole Otney and Ellie Salchek.
Hello. So in January 2018, I attended a conference in Pittsburgh, and there a school presented about this nationwide program called Watchdogs, dogs meaning dad of great students. And the goal of this program, there's three goals. The first was to provide positive male role models in the school. The second was to provide a second set of eyes for security. And the third was to help eliminate bullying. So when I took the program information back to Dr. Smith and Mrs. Law, it was a no-brainer. We wanted Watchdogs at Bell Valley. And so in September 2019, we had our first Watchdog, and that program continued until March 2020 when the school district shut down. But I'm happy to say that next week, our first Watchdog for this school year will be at Bell Valley.
So you might be wondering a little bit about what the watchdog does. After they are notified, after they've signed up, they come into the school in the morning and they're presented with a pre-designed schedule. So their schedule for the day might include spending about 30 minutes in their child or children's classroom. They help in the cafeteria, they help out at recess, and other areas in the building where they're supervised. They get to interact with the students. Overall, the feedback from the students is they love it. It's like having a celebrity in the building. They get really excited to see the watchdog, whether it's their parent or not. And they always want to know who's the watchdog. So to give you more information, we brought two of our watchdogs, our former watchdogs with us, Mr. Sunita and Mr. Steiner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Steiner. This is my daughter, Morgan. Morgan is a fifth grader at Bell Valley. I had the opportunity to go ahead and be a watchdog with her a couple years ago. So it was great to go ahead and see her in the hallway. Was I in your classroom? Might have been in, you mean her classroom, but I was in the preschool, you mean first grade, the lunch. We got to sit and eat lunch, you mean together. So I made fun of her in front of her friends. We had a good time even doing that. But it was great walking down the hallway and giving high fives to the other kids because they just saw even the watchdog that's there. Some of the kids that I knew, you mean from the neighborhood. So it was great, program. I'm very excited to go ahead and do it again this year.
Hi, Kurt Sunita. So what I liked about the watchdogs is that I didn't get an opportunity to be in the school on a regular basis. And this was, the one time a year that I got to go and see Leona and at the time my son Trent at Bell Valley. And, Leona was excited to see me. She came running over and said, "Oh, Dad. Her mother has the chance to be at the school a lot more frequent." And I noticed among the other kids there that we really were kind of a celebrity. And they'd never call me by my name, but they say watchdog, and they knew because of the t-shirt. And they always had something they wanted to say, and they were enthusiastic. And I was lucky enough to choose a day that on the stage they had games to play and shoot basketball. So I was up there helping them, and they're really enthusiastic. Shoot the basketball with me. And then we went to the STEM lab, and one of the things that stood out in my mind was there was a little kid who kept trying to get my attention the entire time. And they want to show me something that they're building and working on. And I'd make my rounds, say positive things about what the students were doing. But this one kid really wanted my attention. And I'd listen and give positive feedback. And at the end of the day, the kid told me that they didn't have a father. And I found that very moving. And I think that's a good opportunity to have positive male role models in the classroom.
I liked when I got to see him at school because I barely ever see him because he's often at work. And when I was in kindergarten, I ran out of line to see him and hug him and say hi.
So as you can see, this is a really great program that we're very proud and able to bring it to Mill Creek. And if any of you have any questions, we could answer a few for you. Or if any of you would like to come to Bell Valley on a day we have a watchdog, you're more than welcome to come in and see it in action.
How many are in the building at one time, and how many are total watchdogs?
We allow one in a day. That's all we can handle. It's a pretty intense schedule, and we just want to keep track of one watchdog a day. And Mrs. Otney, on average, how many do you think we got?
I'd say about we have 60 scheduled right now, but they're able to go on our website and send me an email, and then I can give them dates that work with their schedule and just kind of go from there.
That's great. Thanks for being here with us tonight and sharing that.
Can you talk a little bit about on the very first day of this year when you had all the watchdogs convene and what that was like?
So part of the program, if you want to implement watchdogs in your school, you have to team with the watchdog organization, and they go through and they explain how to run the program. And so the first thing they explained to us is you have to have a kickoff meeting. And so the kickoff meeting has dads coming in, and we had donuts and coffee and a little activity at the table for the kids and the dad to do as we're waiting. And so for the first 10 minutes, there's that. And then the next 10 minutes is just a slideshow explaining the program, similar to what we're doing tonight. And then the last 10 minutes, the dads get to come to the stage and sign up for their day. And so that's the pretty powerful moment in my time as a watchdog coordinator, where it's like so cool to see these dads just coming to the stage and choosing a day that they're going to come in and be with their kids, and their kids are there. It does end with some sadness because the kids aren't used to their dads there. So I think that the kids might think that their dad's coming that day. So I'm thinking next year I might explain that a little bit better, but it is exciting to see the dads wanting to come be a part of the school.
Thank you so much. Any other?
Thank you, sir. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Morgan and Leona. Thank you both.
Dr. Roberts, that sounds like an amazing program. Any other opportunities at the other schools, or is it it's our first attempt to see how it integrates in?
It is, and clearly, there's an opportunity for us to replicate. So Mr. Orlando and our RK5 leaders will certainly look into this program. It's a phenomenal program. I had the opportunity to be there on the kickoff day, and to say that it was just sort of a little sad when the dads were leaving. I don't want to experience that again. I mean, the tears and the screams. So great program.
Section 2 minutes. Like to bring these forward as a block. 2.01 School Board Retreat Workshop Minutes of August 15th, 2022. 2.02 Special Instruction and Student Services Committee Meeting Minutes of August 22nd, 2022. Item 2.03 School Board Meeting Minutes of August 22nd, 2022. And item 2.04 Committee of the Whole Meetings from September 12th, 2022. I have a motion.
Make a motion. I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, visitors. Ms. Sitter, I believe we have some visitors who have signed up for 5 minutes. Ms. Huber?
We do. Miss Hubert is on Zoom tonight. And she is our first person.
Good evening. I'm excited to announce the 2022 MEF Inspiration for Instruction recipients, Lindsay Hain from Chestnut Hill and Sarah Stoops from Walnut Creek. Each of these teachers were awarded $200 from MEF to assist with setting up their very first classroom. Ms. Hain purchased Picasso 3D magnetic building tiles, a marble run building game, a creative shape puzzle, a Buildsy tile game, fidget desk bands, and teacher pointers. Ms. Stoops purchased 4 diverse novels to add to her growing classroom library, as well as a set of flexible seating floor cushions for the students to utilize. Her focus was purchasing hands-on games that allowed for practice in grammar and spelling. MEF offers this funding opportunity every year for teachers new to the profession. Eligible educators may apply through our online program. We have some upcoming events. We will have a booth at the McDowell College and Career Night next Wednesday, October 5th. Parents and students are encouraged to attend the event from 6 to 8 p.m. Please stop by to talk with us about scholarship opportunities. Please plan to attend the MEF Schoolhouse Craft Festival that will be held on Saturday, December 3rd and Sunday, December 4th at MIHS. We have a few spots left for original artisans that are interested in being a vendor. This is an incredible opportunity to support small businesses and offer unique gifts while helping MEF raise funds for Mill Creek students. MEF has a new scholarship being established in memory of Marty Caverman, longtime Westlake principal. The McDowell girls volleyball team will be holding a pink game on October 3rd with a 50-50 raffles and a pink treats to raise funds for the scholarship. All are welcome to attend and or to support the MEF scholarship through our website or Facebook page. Thank you to everyone that participated in the Act for Ashley Day that kicked off the McDowell homecoming weekend. The day honored Ashley Kuzma, a beloved former Mill Creek teacher that passed away 3 years ago on September 22nd after a valiant fight against cancer. Individuals shared their acts of kindness with the hashtag Act for Ashley on social media. Donations were given to the MEF Ashley Kuzma Resilience Memorial Scholarship, and MTSD employees were invited to support the scholarship by participating in a Jeans Day. To date, 5 McDowell students have received Kuzma scholarships. Last month, I mentioned our new fund, Eller's Piece of the Puzzle Fund, named in memory of Stephen Eller, a McDowell class of 2024 grad, that supports Mill Creek students with funding to join different clubs like the YMCA, MYA leagues, summer camps, etc. You can direct gifts to the fund through our website or Facebook page. The first distribution will be at the same time as our December MEF grants. Applications for interested students are on our website and will be available at every school. The next round of MEF grant applications are due December 1st. And I'm looking forward to launching the MEF Bright Spots 22-23 edition within the next few weeks. We love celebrating MTSD teachers and staff. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Huber, for that update, and thank you for you and the MEF and all that you do for us every month. It is greatly appreciated. We do have a couple 3-minute visitors who have signed up. Ms. McManus, like to come up, please.
Good evening. I'm Karen McManus, and I'm here to discuss handicap accessibility at MIHS. I have a 9th grader who uses a wheelchair and currently attends MIHS. I am concerned about the frequency of the elevator breaking. When it is broken, my son is unable to access the 2nd floor. This school year, the kids have attended school for 19 days. The elevator has been broken for 5 of those days, which is 26% of the school days that have been in session. It has been suggested by multiple people multiple times that all of his classes be held on the 1st floor. This is not a solution. My son has the right to an equal education under both Title II of the ADA and the 504. Some classes will not be able to be replicated on the 1st floor. For example, his 2nd quarter culinary arts class. Last February, when the elevator was broken for 5 weeks, I sent an email to multiple members of staff informing them that my son would be at MIHS this year. I have given the district time to meet his needs. I'm here to ask what permanent and timely solution the district plans on completing to give my son equal access that he deserves. I'd also like to address the fact that there is only one accessible bathroom that my son can independently use. This is located on the 1st floor. Prior to the start of school, it was agreed that an automatic handicap accessible button would be installed on a door so that my son could independently use a staff bathroom on the 2nd floor. As of 2 p.m. today, that button still has not been installed. Again, I'm here to ask how long my son needs to wait to have equal access. And as I sat here waiting to speak, I read the quote you have up here about students being important and treated with dignity and respect, and I don't feel that my son at this point has received any of that from this district. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. McManus, and I'm sure that Mr. Gallagher will be looking into that for us and providing us with some update as to what that is happening with that elevator. Mr. Aliota.
Good evening, Lou Aliota. I noticed that there was a change in the agenda, and I trust and hope that it will be discussed. The new agenda items will be discussed and open for public comment. I have some questions about the sale of the property. Former Superintendent William Hall was intimately involved in the management, sale of the property, and he was, the day after he retired, he joined that organization. The third amendment of the sale of the property, $550,000 for that corner property. Let me offer you $600,000 right now. Another aspect of the additional agenda items was the substitute teachers. I'd appreciate if you would explain the changes in that. As far as the superintendent's goals, Dr. Roberts, I looked at them and they are subjective in nature. They are not objective. I've been a director of pharmacy for 35 years, over 150 employees. These are not objective criteria for the performance standards. But let me compliment a couple of school board directors. I enjoyed reading what they had to write. Gary Winchell, I want to serve on the board as a way of making a difference in my community. Shirley Winchell, eventually all pieces fall into place. Until then, know that everything happens for a reason. Janice Filbert, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Excellent quotes. One more quote. Aliota from The Gladiator. What we do in life echoes in eternity. Are you not entertained? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aliota. And to your comment about the changes, there will be further discussion as we bring them forward this evening about the rate. And our third speaker this evening, Mr. Scatella.
Good evening. My name's Terry Scatella, 4055 West 30th. I'm here on a little definition from County Council. But first, Dr. Roberts, Mr. Winchell, I believe, is on. And our icon right here, Mr. Senate. And the young lady that holds the glue to this whole building in these meetings, Mrs. Sitter. And there's three of you I have not met, but I watch you from afar because my passion is the Mill Creek School District. I sat here for 12 years. And Mrs. McClintock, I hope I'm saying it right, Mrs. Lupchak and Mr. Linder, right? Correct? Like I said, I watched, and Mr. Dean and Mrs. Philbeck. After I met you and you discussed what you're going to do, and after you got elected and what you have done, I'm very proud that I voted for you. And that brings you to my two friends sitting over there. When I was on this board for 12 years, they were teachers, educators, excellent. Worked long enough to retire, and instead of walking off into the sunset, they decided to be a school board director. Toughest job there is in an elected position. And I'm proud of all of you. And after the last 2 years, 2.5 years with the pandemic, it was tough. It was tough for you. It was tough for the parents. It was tough for the children. But you got by it, and we're getting by it. And I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Roberts. It was a meeting set up by Mr. Winchell. And we had a nice discussion, feeling each other out. And he's sharp. I said, is there anything I could do for you or the school district? And his one big concern was there were still 3 voting precincts in the schools. And it took us, we just voted on it Friday. Those are no longer in the school district buildings. So your calendar can be completed. And I just want to go over where they were, you know that, and where they're going. Mill Creek 13th, Tracy Elementary School. That is now going to the community college at Villa School. That's where that voting place will be. Mill Creek 18, J.S. Wilson Middle School. You know where that is. That's going to New Hope Presbyterian Church at 5440 Washington. And McDowell Intermediate High School is moving to First Alliance Church. And Now you can have a solar calendar and keep the kids in school. One thing I said, I almost said aye when the vice president asked for your vote. I almost did it, but I sat here and I said, oh, a lot of changes here. One thing hasn't changed. Our mission is, and you go around the room and that young lady that spoke to this, I'm sure they will look into that and straighten the problem out. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Scatella, and thank you and County Council for helping us get the voting booths out of our buildings, but still making them accessible to the public.
Wonderful news.
Thank you.
Old business. Anyone have any old business to discuss this evening? Hearing none, we'll move into instruction and student services. Ms. Winchell, if you'd like to take that section.
Yes, thank you. I have 4 items for approval this evening. All were discussed at the Instruction and Student Services Committee meeting held September 12th. 5.01 Family Services Linkage Agreement. Approval is requested for an operating agreement between Family Services of Northwest Pennsylvania and MTSD. Family Services provides an array of services which may include mental and behavioral health services, as well as child welfare services for children, families, and adults. Coordination of the services is necessary to ensure comprehensive care. Nothing in this agreement is intended to financially obligate either party, but rather defines the operating relationship between the parties. It's a 3-year agreement. 5.02 Educational Funding Agreement, Cumberland Hospital. Approval is requested for a funding agreement for a student to receive educational services out of state. The student is placed out of state by Erie County Office of Children and Youth. MTSD initially pays for the services and then receives reimbursement from the state. Item 5.03, Washington, D.C. trip for grades 9 through 12. Approval is requested for a trip to Washington, D.C. on October 28th. This trip has been an annual occurrence until COVID forced us to cancel. It's an extremely relevant trip to justice education, government, social studies, and many other courses. The trip is open to students 9 through 12. I believe there are 56 students involved. There's no cost involved other than the transportation costs, and these are covered by the Jewish Community Council. And the district does pay for the cost of substitute teachers for the day, up to 5 staff members. And finally, 5.04 girls basketball KSA trip. Approval is requested for the KSA Christmas tournament in December. I believe it's 19 to 23. The trip includes 13 girls, 3 coaches, and is completely funded by Players and Boosters Club. This will be the first trip back to Florida since 2019, and the team is very excited about this opportunity. I'd like to make a motion for approval of 5.01, 5.02, 5.03, and 5.04.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on any of those 4 items? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Those items passed. Thank you, Mrs. Winchell.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean, Personnel and Policy Committee, if you'd like to take that section, please.
Thank you, Vice President. Item 6.01, Policy 218, Student Discipline, Final Reading. And item 6.02, Policy 709, Building Security, Final Reading. Both of these policies went through committee and we didn't have much in terms of discussion. So I'd like to take these together as a block. I'd like to make a motion that we approve 6.01 and 6.02.
I'll second.
Any discussion on these 2 items? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.03, September 26, 2022 Personnel Board Report. And as you'll remember, we had a committee of the whole immediately following the committee meetings last week. So that's why you see everything in yellow. These are all new. These are timely, and we would like to get these positions filled. So we're bringing them through right now. So I'm going to walk through the list here. Asbury, we have a resignation of Child Development Group Supervisor. Bell Valley, recommendation for Title I educational assistant, recommendation for a staff nurse, recommendation for a special ed assistant autistic support, special ed assistant autistic support. Continuing with Bell Valley, change of status, 2022-23 educational assistant, ELL, child development assistant group supervisor, child development assistant group supervisor. Moving on to Grandview, we have a change of status, educational assistant to special educational assistant, emotional support, Bell Valley to Grandview. Tracy, we have a recommendation for educational assistant. Another recommendation for a special ed assistant, autistic support. JS Wilson, we have a recommendation for educational assistant, ELL, special education assistant, emotional support, secretary term 200 days. Moving on to Walnut Creek, we have a retirement of an English teacher. We have a leave of absence for an English teacher. Moving to Westlake, we have a change of status, temporary reassignment, special educational assistant, autistic support to special education teacher, learning support, Tracy to Westlake. McDowell Intermediate, we have a retirement of a music teacher after 35 years of service. We have a change of status of educational assistant to educational assistant guidance. McDowell, we have a recommendation for educational assistant library, recommendation for a special ed assistant autistic support. Mill Creek Education Center, we have resignation of a 2022-23 department chair, 2022-23 activities school store advisor at McDowell, data and application specialist, director of personnel, marching band director. We have a recommendation for a 2022-23 department chair, ELL, grade 11, grade 12. Recommendation for a 2022-23 athletics, volleyball girls JV coach. 2022-23 substitutes for child development pre-K assistant. We have a number of 2022-23 board approved volunteers. And our first student employment activity, we have a number of drivers that are hired as well as monitors. And we have 2 termination/retirements. We have a recommendation for a school security officer. Another recommendation for a school security officer. One more recommendation for a school security officer. And finally, another recommendation for a school security officer. And we have a change of status for a 2022-23 activities school store advisor McDowell. And we have a change of status, school security officer to supervisor of school safety. With that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 6.03 September 26, 2022 Personnel Board Report.
I have one change, I think. For Walnut Creek, the retirement should,
Can we get a second? real
I'll
fast?
second it.
Discussion?
Okay.
Newsham?
for Walnut Creek, the retirement should say science teacher instead of English teacher. I don't know that it matters, but.
Can we?
Motion to amend?
So I make a motion to amend that we change that from English teacher to science teacher.
I'll second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Dean, back to you.
Any other?
Motion to approve the personnel report as amended. Have we got it? We good to vote? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Item 7, month-end close reports. Mr. O'Toole, like to take us through some of those?
Yes, thank you. 7.01 is the enrollment summary. This is just informational. Any questions? I'm going to ask the board to take 7.02 and 7.03 as a block. 7.02 is the bond summary, and 7.03 are the treasurer's report for June, July, and August. Any questions related to those two items?
I'll make a motion to move those 2 items forward.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Atul. I will take Section 8, Finance and Operations Committee. We have 7 items this evening. These were all discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting earlier this month and moved forward. I'd like to bring them forward in 2 blocks. 8.01, Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit Special Education Program Service Contract for the 22-23 school year. 8.02, another Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit Special Education's Program Service Contract for Edmund Thomas for the 22-23 school year. Item 8.04 is a donation to the Mill Creek Township School District from the Abiding Hope Lutheran Church. 8.05 is the Mill Creek Education Foundation Grants Awards, which were 6 grants. 8.06 is Act 57 of 2022. And 8.07 is the Accounts Payable Report. I'd like to bring those forward as a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on those items?
Yes, Mr. Vice President, acting as president. One question on the accounts payable for Mr. O'Toole. Did we pay anything to Attorney Weichler in this last pay?
Yes, we did.
Can you tell me the amount?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I think it was roughly $1,500.
Was it going back a few months probably?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to vote no on approving the accounts payable
Would you like
because
me
of
to,
that.
I will separate that out then for you.
Well, could you please? Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you.
So I'd like to restate my motion is items 8. Oh, good. Both separate. Two votes. Okay. Excellent. So we'll vote first on all the items except for the accounts payable, and then we'll have a second vote on the accounts payable.
Vote on all items, including accounts payable, except for Attorney Weichler.
That's fine. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. All items except for Attorney Weichler's bill. Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? First half of that passes. The second one is Attorney Weichler's bill. All those in favor?
Aye. And opposed, no.
That motion passes as well. 8.03 is the Erie County Technical School Resolution. And this is the resolution to sell 80 of 153 acres of land owned by the Erie County Technical School. I can make a motion to bring that forward.
Second.
Discussion. I do have a point to make. It may be a moot vote on our conversation this evening because to sell that land, it does require all of the districts to be in concurrent agreement to do such. We currently have one district that is not sure that they're going to move it forward at this point or have indicated that they intend to vote against it. But we have been asked, the districts that have it on our meeting to signify our intention. And I would like to suggest that we continue to move forward so that we help set the path to moving forward with that and let people know where Mill Creek Township stands on this matter.
So is there a timeline for how long this resolution holds or not really?
No real timeline, and if that one district in the future changes their mind, we probably will have to bring it back forward.
And then can I ask who they're selling it to and for how much?
So this is actually the first step in the process. This is to give the Erie County Technical School the approval to go forth, do the appropriate listings and appraisals necessary to find out what a realistic value to market and to sell the piece of property for, to put it out there. And then it would come back to the JOC, and it would then still require unanimous approval at the JOC. So this is really an exploratory step. This is step one to say, how much is it worth? And it is there interest publicly to sell it? Correct, Mr. Senate?
Thank you.
Then there would be a secondary follow-up where this board would direct me as the representative of Erie County Technical School, whether or not we are in agreement with that sale or not, and would vote as such on behalf of our board. Any other questions? I believe this one is a roll call vote, correct?
Yes, roll call. Ms. McClintock?
Yes.
Ms. Newsham?
Yes.
Mr. Winchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Winchell?
Yes.
Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Ms. Philbeck?
Yes.
Mr. Kobilka?
Yes.
Mr. Lindner?
Yes.
Ms. Lukacek?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you all very much. That concludes the Finance and Operations Committee's list. Item 9, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Roberts, if you'd like to take some of these.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. This evening, there are 4 items on the superintendent's report. The first item is the superintendent's goals. Let me preface my brief sharing about the superintendent's goals by really pointing to the etymological definition of the term objective. An objective comes from 17th century medieval Latin, which means to aim for, a goal, to strategically plan, to strive for. And as I think about and reflect on the 5 goals that I've created with input from the board, each of those certainly falls solidly within the auspices of objectivity. And the goals are primarily focused on one of the reasons we're really here, student academic achievement. Goal 1 really speaks to maintaining the district's standard of excellence to provide a world-class education to all of our students. Goal 2 speaks to critical competencies, and this is where, as the person being a part of the core team and leading the district, I have a relentless focus, along with members of my core team, on building capacity in 100% of our school leaders, and Goal 2 speaks to that. Goal 3 really speaks to a goal that has been ongoing and we're continuously striving to achieve. And that really ties in with the social-emotional well-being of not only 100% of the students who knock on our doors, but all of the adults who come each and every day to serve and support them. Goal 4 really speaks to our commitment to being inclusive, being a welcoming district, and one that really focuses not only on inclusivity, but to make sure that we have safe and secure schools. And so Goal 4 is around ensuring the safety and well-being of 100% of our students. In order for us to do so, we've set a number of benchmark or performance indicators for each of these 5 goals. And the 5th goal is around governance and district operations. And this is one where I, as superintendent, certainly with support from the core team, intend to make sure that we are working collaboratively with the board, doing our governance and district operations to make sure that all of our non-instructional deliverables are on point, such as business, finance, and operations. And those are the 5 goals. The superintendent's goals actually should continue to be live goals, whereby if there's a necessity for us to tweak, we will do so. Unlike traditional superintendent's goals, one of the goal setting processes we've embarked upon is using John Doerr, who has written the best-selling book, Measure What Matters. And we've taken practices from this book because this is a process where we've seen a lot of our top 10 performing companies in the world have utilized John Doerr's guidance around OKRs. OKRs essentially are objective and key results. What does that mean in a nutshell? It means that unlike other instances where we will look at goals twice a year at the mid-year point and at the end of the year, we aggressively and frequently revisit all of our goals. And it is my intention, having had conversations with this board, for us to apply some of the same approaches where we're not waiting until the end of the year, but we're going to find time between now and the end of the year to revisit these goals in order to tweak them so that they're meeting the needs of the district. Those are the 5 goals that I'm bringing forth for the board's continued review and approval. Item number 9.02, Director of Personnel and Director of Human Resources title change. We know that our Human Resources Department is one of the most critical that we have in the district. This is the first point of contact for many individuals who are coming into the district. And I'm humbly bringing forth a proposed change from the Director of Personnel to Director of Human Resources as a result of a discussion that I've had with a number of members of the core team. And we've all agreed that the title Director of Personnel is somewhat dated. And so to get us to this place of a contemporary naming and titling, I'm bringing forth a proposal for a title change from Director of Personnel to Director of Human Resources. Item number 9.03, the ESS contract for a sub-rate amendment. And Mr. Linder, you brought this forth early in our agenda for a change. As a district that continuously anchors 100% of our decisions in data, reliable and credible data, we've continued to look at our current absentee rate and believe that at this time, similar to many districts around the country, although I believe that we are in a much stronger place, we see the need for us to entice and attract high-quality substitute teachers who can fill in when we need to have them and stand in front of our students to have continuity of delivery of solid instructional practices. And so in order for us to be a competitive, we are bringing forth a proposal for an increase in our substitute teacher rate. And I believe that increase is up to about $55 addition. Certainly the board will review and hopefully have an approval to that. And we are going to continue to bring forward to the board what our fill rates are as a result of these changes to the board see it fit to approve, so that we're keeping you updated about the impact that the increase in substitute rate is having. Finally, item number 9.04, at a previous meeting, the board approved for my attending of an educational professional development endeavor in Panama. It's an international or overseas trip. I've certainly had some reflections and shared with the board that given there's a need for me to continue to be here to support and work along with the core team and the rest of the district. And I've shared this opportunity with a number of core team members. We've had a couple of folks who've expressed interest. I know that while I was thinking that my 2IC, Mr. Mornaka, is going to take this trip, I know he too has shared with me that there's a desire, given just a number of changes that have occurred in the district, where there's a need for us to just roll our sleeves up and have an all hands on deck approach. It may behoove us for Mr. Murner to reconsider whether or not he too will take this trip. So I want to propose tonight that maybe the board approves this trip, but knowing that there's a high likelihood that he will not, because again, of the demands on him here. But if we should be sort of have an opportunity to find a way to make it happen, then the board will approve this, because this trip occurs next week. But knowing very well that even with the approval, we may come back to the board with a different decision, because there's a need for all of us at this time to have our sleeves rolled up and remain in the district. So those are the 4 items on the superintendent's report for your consideration and action.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I would like to bring these forward in 3 different blocks because I would like to go back to 9.02 and 9.03 to talk specifically about how they are changing, so that we can fully vet the conversation that we had at the beginning of the meeting that they would change. So moving forward with the first 2 items, 9.01, the superintendent's goal, and 9.04, Education Foundation Superintendent's Panama trip. I would like to bring that forward as a motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion on those 2 items? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Those motions pass. Next one is item 9.02, Director of Personnel to Director of Human Resources title. I'd like to bring that forward as a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd like to amend or have the conversation about amending that. I know that we had discussed not only a name change, but also a job description change with regard to that it would have human resources experience as a requirement. Also, that they would have preferred experience working within a school system, and that we would list the salary range of this being a contracted position for a period of 3 years.
That is correct.
I have a second on that amended.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Is there any public comment on that amendment, since it wasn't out prior to this meeting? Record show there's no public comment at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.03, the ESS contract subrate amendment. I'd like to bring that forward as a motion to be amended.
Before you make the motion, I just want to clarify what the rates are compared to the one that's on the agenda. So it's my understanding, and Mr. O'Toole, correct me if I'm wrong, or my math isn't correct, that the full day substitute teacher rate would be $175. And the discounted bill rate for the full day substitute teacher would be $227.50. The half day substitute rate would not change at 100 and 130. So that's what you're voting on, or that's what the motion should be.
Could you say what you said about the half day again? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, on the addendum, which is on the, already on the agenda, again, the full day substitute teacher rate would be $175 pay rate with a discounted bill rate of $227.50. The half day substitute teacher rate, as presently listed, is not being changed. It would be $100 per day and $130 for the discounted bill rate, because that wasn't discussed. Unless you need to modify that.
I made the assumption that the half day would be half of what was a full day. I'm understanding now that that's not correct.
Well, it can be.
It can be. We didn't
It
discuss
can-
it. You can,
Okay.
we can make that
I'm
motion. at this point.
suggesting that if we changed what we are paying for a full day, I would suggest that we pay half that rate for a half day so that there is no discrepancy that as it is currently being suggested.
At this point, they'd actually make more. Surely they'd get 100.
Yes.
And so you're saying half of like 175, which would be like $87 or something.
I see Mr. or Attorney Senate.
Doing the math real
87.50.
fast.
And the.
That's correct. The discount rate being 113.75.
So,
That just makes more sense to me. So how other people feel.
so the revised rates, again, just so we're all on the same page. Our full day substitute teacher rate, pay rate 175, discounted bill rate 227.50, full day. Half day substitute teacher rate, pay rate 87.50 with a discounted bill rate of 113.75.
Yep.
And then I have one other question. I'm looking at this contract from ESS Northeast Limited Liability Corporation. And the executive VP is a W. Andrew Hall. Is that William Hall that worked for us?
No,
It's not. Okay,
as far as I know.
that's all I asked. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on these changes as amended? Is there any questions or discussion from the public on this topic? I got the motion as amended.
Second.
Okay. Now we're done. This is getting messy. Okay, any comment from the public? So do you have anyone online?
No, I do not.
Okay, record show there's no public comment at this time. That being said, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. New business, item 10.01, the Montessori Regional Charter School Annual Report. Dr. Roberts, who typically presents this? Is this me?
The whole purpose of it is just to acknowledge receipt of the report. They're required to provide that report on an annual basis, and they finally did provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Then I will make a motion to accept the report. I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Solicitors report. Attorney Senate, if you'd like.
My report, we do have the third amendment to agreement for the sale of real estate. This involves the agreement of sale that was originally entered into on November 23rd, 2021. Again, and note that date, November 23rd, 2021. Regard to the mention of public comment that this agreement involved Mr. Hall or a predecessor board, that's not correct. I mean, this is the agreement the sale was entered into in 2020. The third amendment to agreement of sale of real estate has two changes. The first change is the change in closing date. The original closing date under the second amendment was September 30th, 2022. That's being changed to December 29th, 2022. The basis of the change is CDC has requested the extension of time because there is one contingency left under the agreement of sale, and that is for a federal agency approval of the agreement of sale, which CDC has not received. So they have therefore requested the additional time to receive that federal approval. The second change is in section 3 of the original agreement. The original purchase price was $605,000. The document that was placed on the agenda showed a purchase price of $550,000. I believe we're amending that to $575,000. So that would be the purchase price as part of the third amendment to agreement for sale.
I'd like to make a motion as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? Is there any public comment that would like to be offered? Mr. Aliotta? 3 minutes, Mr. Aliotta. Thank you. Yes, please.
I presume that an appraisal of the property has been performed, and there's usually 3 appraisals to the property. That is a corner lot. You know, when you're looking at 575,000, that's awfully cheap for that piece of property. Now, again, I 575, I'll offer 600,000. You can make 25,000 on that. What I don't understand is that the district is receiving, what is it, 12,000 a month? Or is it 150,000 a month? Can anyone answer?
Mr. Aliotta, this is not a question and answer period. It's just public comment.
Okay, all right. Let's just say the district is receiving $120,000 per month.
Oh, God, they're not getting that much per month.
I'm sorry, they're receiving $12,000 per month, which equates to about $150,000 a year, approximately. Since we don't know whether it's $12,000 a month or $15,000 a month. So in 4 or 5, maybe max 6 years, that property is paid off. That's a good real estate deal in my estimation. I could pay that off fairly quickly. So why would you want to sell a property that's probably worth 1.5 million, bare minimum, for 575? You're losing money. You're putting money on the table. You're leaving the money on the table. I would be very cautious in the sale of public property. There is some research being done by yours truly with other taxpayers, residents of Erie County at the Airport Authority. So what I'm saying is, when you approve this contract of 575, are you being taken to the cleaners? Are the taxpayers being taken to the cleaners? I just laid it right out for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aliotta. Any other comments online, Ms. Sitter?
No.
There's obviously concerns about the building itself. and the condition of the building, which would provide incentive to the school district to potentially sell the building in the future.
We have a motion. We've had discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes. It takes us to.
Actually, I have one more item to report on. As the board is aware, and maybe the members of the public are aware, we did receive the decision in the Troy Prozan versus Milford Township School District Board of Directors when members of the public sought the removal of board members. We did just receive the order from Judge Connolly Marucci, in which she dismissed the petitions with prejudice. What that means is that it can't be refiled. And the importance of the opinion itself is that Judge Connolly Marucci indicated that the school board, under interpretation of the present school code, had the power to determine whether masks and quarantine were appropriate or not appropriate within your discretion to protect the health and safety of the students of the Milford Township School District. And that's an important decision. And Judge Connolly Marucci indicated that this is not a new power that just occurred recently. This is a power that's been in place since 1874. And I think as a school board, over the last 2 years, you've been criticized quite a bit in regard to your discretionary decisions that you made in regard to masking and quarantining. And you should feel comforted in the fact that a court in Erie County has determined that you had the power to make these decisions, that you made the right decisions in accordance with the law. And you should feel proud of the decisions you made. And it's supported by the court in this decision. And all the rhetoric that was provided to you over time was rhetoric. It wasn't. We were doing the right thing in accordance with the law as it existed. So I just wanted to point that out and congratulate the board on the decisions you made over time. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that update, Attorney Senate. And, it moves us into remarks. President Winchell, I know you're joining us by phone, or would you like to share anything for the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit?
We have a meeting this Wednesday, and there are attachments to the agenda, both from the minutes, prior minutes, and Executive Director of Comments from Brad Whitman. So meeting is Wednesday night. Thanks.
Thank you very much. From the Erie County Technical School, just to share two things. I had the privilege on this past Thursday to attend the exemplary students. We had two Mill Creek Township School District students, Ahmed Wali, an automotive tech who was an exemplary student that was on honor roll for the entire year in perfect attendance. Ahmed has recently graduated and is attending Gannon while also working in his trade field of automotive technology. Kevin Coleman, who is entering his senior year in graphic and media design, was also an exemplary student. So I want to make sure that we recognize them and their outstanding work over the past year. The other couple of things that just to share, I have this for the board to look at. They put together a course catalog of all the courses that they have going on at the tech school, and it is updated for the next 3 years and outlines exactly what the programs are and what they can do. So if anyone would like to look at this, I know that I believe 50 hard copies of this have been delivered to both the high schools for us to have to share with students. And I was looking, they were asking if we could have the online link on the high school page somewhere. I don't know that that necessarily is there, but it might be, and I can't find it. So, but, yep.
If you could send me an email, that would be wonderful with that link. I can get that up there for you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then the other thing that they had is they have a Look What You Can Be. They put together a coloring book that they took out to all the elementary schools in 3rd grade that they took out, and it was based on their reading level. And it kind of gave them an example of all the different trade jobs that they could look into that the technical school offers to give them an idea of what they might want to be and what they would like to do. So if anyone would like to see this, or if you have any 3rd graders, you might have gotten one of these sent home with you recently. So they're doing a lot of really good things out there, and the renovation is progressing not nearly as fast as everyone would like, but they are managing through just like we have with supply chain issues. Parks and Rec, Ms. Newsham,
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since we last met.
Ms. Philbeck, anything for the PSBA?
I have no report.
General school board remarks?
I have one. I thought that the Watchdog program was fantastic. I would love to see if we can roll that out to other elementary schools. And I commend all of those dads that came in and gave up their day to work with the students. So I thought that was just probably one of the best things I've heard in a while. Great.
And I would like to say one more thank you to Terry Scatella and the members of Erie County Council. Thank you so much for valuing student safety. It has been very difficult for us to have so many people coming into buildings to vote. And so we appreciate you focusing on school safety and security. Thank you.
Dr. Roberts, do you have anything for us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Linder. As always, in closing, we try to find opportunities to celebrate our students and certainly the amazing teachers and staff in our midst. Certainly want to celebrate all of our students. Morgan and Wella for their bravery today from Bell Valley to share their experiences with the Watchdog program. Certainly would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and celebrate our homecoming 2022 Mill Creek Township School District homecoming king and queen, Lexi Rich and Nico Cataldi. Certainly it was a very competitive process, and if I could give out a trophy to everyone, all of our couples would receive a trophy. It brings me to our teaching staff celebration. Pam Dixon and the Girls Athletic Club, which essentially serve as our homecoming committee. What a remarkable job. What an outstanding job they did. You know, I've seen the email threads and being part of the conversations from Pam over the last several weeks or even months as they were planning to have this celebration for the Mill Creek Township School District, as well as the Mill Creek community. I have been in a couple of districts and I'm being very, very humbled by seeing a couple. I've seen a number of them across the country in homecoming celebrations. I have not seen one like this. The spirit of Mill Creek as a community was in full display and was inspiring to the spirit, inspiring to the soul to see just hundreds of young people lying the streets with their parents and grandparents and guardians, left feeling so filled. It was excellent to see. So I am thankful. I certainly want to be able to celebrate all of our adults. I know that this is the first homecoming celebration this magnitude in about 3 years. Since the 1920 school year. And so it's good to see that we are back to this place of normalcy. You know, I shared with some core team members that even in the midst of these celebrations, there's so much sadness that we've been dealing with in the district. Plato reminds us to be kind to everyone, because everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. And over the last 2 years, going into 3, we have anchored so much of our existence in this desire to be compassionate and empathetic. And I think what we've seen on display from a number of the adults in our buildings, from our Mill Creek, extended Mill Creek families, our community members and parents, are great and exemplary displays of kindness and compassion. I struggled, and if I may have a moment of vulnerability, over the weekend, even as I basked, like many of you, in those moments of homecoming celebration, recognizing that we've endured so much in terms of loss. But we're strong, and as cliche as it sounds, we are really stronger together. On Thursday, I believe it was on the 22nd, we convened a meeting with President Winchell, Mr. Marnock, and I, and a group of very involved and passionate parents and community members. And it was one of the most productive meetings that I've had that really speaks to this spirit of collaboration that our community members and parents want to exhibit. And outside of the contents of that meeting, what I left feeling and the takeaway that I had was that we are truly not doing this alone. We see bits and pieces of evidence every day that we are not in this alone. And I want to encourage those who are part of this journey with us to continue to step up. Mr. Scatella and our county council, we are incredibly grateful for your partnership. When you review one of the agenda items tonight, our superintendent's goals, you'll see that some of them are ambitious and aspirational. But I believe and have the utmost confidence in our ability to, if not to achieve those goals, to make significant progress on attaining them because of the team of executives who are sitting in this room and all of our teachers, school leaders, and staff that we work with. But my plea tonight, even in the midst of lots of celebrations, recognizing that as a district, we are a very good district, aspiring to be great. We're having a moment. We're having a moment of melancholy. We're having a moment of sadness, and we need you to wrap your arms around us, around our teachers, our staff, and our students. And I believe that we are going to do very, very well. So thank you, board, for your continued support, and thank you, community, continue to partner with us.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I do need to mention to all of the board members, there will be an executive session immediately following this meeting on the matters of personnel. And I'd like to take us to item 13, adjournment. And I have a motion.
A motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much. That concludes our meeting this evening. Have a great night.